What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. My name is Zarfati, and this is a channel that talks all about filmmaking. And today we're going to be talking about this interview that I shot for my docu-series Law the Goat. Over the years, I've developed kind of a foolproof process to getting cinematic interviews in any location I'm in. And the reason I wanted to show you guys this particular interview today is because it was a pickup interview that was on a really tight deadline. I had no prep time, no location scouting, and on top of it, I was shooting all of this by myself with a very limited amount of gear. So this was as run and gun as it gets. And if you look at the interview, it still came out great. And it's because I follow these 5 steps to shooting every single interview. And I'm gonna go over every single one of them for you guys today. And hopefully this helps you get cinematic interviews in any location with any size crew and any gear that you have. So the first thing I do is I grab my camera and I start to frame different parts of the area to get an idea of where I want my interview location to be. Now, when I'm doing that, there are 2 things that I'm looking for. Number 1 is I'm looking for as much depth and separation from the background as possible, because that's always gonna tend to look better than if you were to just shoot something right up against the wall. The second thing that I'm looking for is a clean background, or at least a background that I could quickly manipulate things with. That means either moving some furniture around or adjusting some things to create symmetry in the shot and in the frame. And the goal here is to make sure that your subject is the main focus of the shot. There's not too much going on in the background, or the background isn't too distracting or too messy, so you have something clean and easy for the viewer to see and understand and digest while they're viewing this. Now, once I have my frame set and I have a good idea of where I want my interview to be, I set my camera on a tripod and I start to lock in on the angle. Now, I can't sit here and tell you what the best angle is for every single interview, because every interview is different. It really depends on the mood that you're trying to create. But in this particular interview, I was going for a more dramatic look because I only had one camera and a very limited amount of time. What I went with was the 3/4 camera angle, which is about 45 degrees away from the front of your subject's face. And I usually find that this gives me that more cinematic, dramatic kind of look. Now, for you, this may or may not work. Maybe you want something kind of head on, or maybe you want something a little like a profile shot. You know, it really depends creatively on you. But the idea is that you definitely want to play around with the angle or adjust your subject in the frame to find the angle that you're going for. After I have my subject properly placed in the frame, I start adding my lights. Now, like I said, I shot this by myself and I had to move quickly, so I decided to only use 2 lights. And the 2 lights that I used were the Aperture 120D and the Field World 225D. And if you guys are loving this video so far, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. So I started with my key light, and pro tip, I always shoot on the dark side of my subject. And all this means is that I'm shooting on the opposite side of where my key light is. So because I have my camera placed on this side of my subject, I place my key light at a 45-degree angle on the far side of my subject. And this is what it looks like. Then I added my hair light just to help shape the shadows on his face and also pop him out a little bit from the background. And as you can see, the light hits the back of his head and this side of his shoulder over here. Even though this lighting was super simple, it looks great, and I really don't think that you guys need more than that to film professional interviews. In fact, these lights, including the softboxes, you could buy right now for less than $1,000. And that is one thing that I really want to be adamant about this channel. It's not about all the gear that you have, and it's not about all the different things that you have to spend money on. It's about using what you have to the best of your ability. You can film really great interviews with very minimal gear and a very minimal crew. In fact, you could do it completely by yourself. Now, for audio, I always record on 2 separate sources. I'll record a shotgun mic straight into my camera, and then I record a lav mic into a Zoom recorder. That way I have 2 separate audio sources, just in case one is bad or one doesn't record or something messes up in one of them. I have another audio source that I can rely on. For the shotgun mic, the goal is that you want the shotgun mic to be as close to your subject's mouth as possible. What I try to do is I try to get it to where it's kind of pointed right towards my subject's mouth until I see it into the frame, and then I'll just put it right above the frame. The last thing that I do is I test my subject's eye line, and to do this, what I do is I make a fist and I basically sit to where I'm going to be sitting, where I'm going to be talking to them, and I'll just kind of move it around, and I'll tell them to kind of follow it while they're talking, and I'll look into the camera monitor, and I'll kind of just test like, hey, do me a favor, say your name right here. And then once I have the eye line that I like, I'll move myself to that position so we could have a conversation and it feels natural. If you do all of these things, you will be able to get a cinematic interview in any location that you're in. Don't be afraid to use this as a checklist, like literally write it down on your phone. I did when I first started out. I used all of this stuff like religiously. Every time I got on set, I used it as a checklist until it became such a habit that anytime I shot an interview, I just naturally did this stuff. And I want to say after like the first like 6 or 7 months after doing this, it finally started to become that natural habit and that natural instinct that I just normally followed. But don't be afraid to write this stuff down and just have a checklist of all this. By the way, guys, this short documentary just released and it's my favorite piece of work that I have produced yet. So I'll leave a link either up here or down here. And I would really appreciate it if you guys went over to Law of the Goat, followed that. We're gonna be putting out episodes, weekly on the series that I've been shooting for the last 2.5 years. I appreciate you guys for watching. Do me a favor and don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Deuces.